Good versus evil. The dangers of ambition. The influence of supernatural powers. The contrast between appearance and reality. And loyalty and guilt. These are all themes portrayed in the timeless classic William, no middle name, Shakespeare's The Tragedy of Macbeth, or more commonly titled, Macbeth. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Wow, Nathan, these are some real creative and original themes. Well, you would be wrong. These themes come from the British Broadcasting Channel, and they made me realize how incredibly bland Shakespeare stories really are. Like, taketh hence thy sumptuous Lexmeans, obsessive yapping, and unnecessary murder, and the story itself isn't that interesting. Macbeth can be boiled down to a man being manipulated into doing bad things and getting punished for it, which isn't groundbreaking. Most of the themes the BBC described are present in Macbeth, but are incredibly sidelined. For example, loyalty and guilt is not what immediately comes to mind when you think of Macbeth as a story. The main theme that many go to is good versus evil, a plot used in many stories. And I just think that Macbeth doesn't make the incredibly tropey genre less tropey. Macbeth is comically evil just to push the agenda that he is evil, having no real motive other than power. And Macduff not only is a bland character, but is barely in the play. There are plenty of modern and older stories that show the concept of good versus evil better than Macbeth, like the Emoji Movie. And Shakespeare's interpretation of a villain being the main protagonist is also poor because it makes Macduff even more dull, as we never explore his gripes with Macbeth outside of him murdering his entire family, something that happened after he was angry. A villain-centric story isn't inherently flawed, as Breaking Bad is able to show Walter White as an objectively bad man, but also give genuine character and motives at the same time. So what, you may be asking? Macbeth is a well-built character. The story shows him developing from an alright soldier to a tyrant by being manipulated by the witches and his wife. Well, friend, choosing to focus on the influence of supernatural powers theme leads us to many questions. Was Macbeth truly manipulated? Was Macbeth or Lady Macbeth more at fault? And were the witches truly magical, or were they just full of shit? Back in the 5th century, or whenever Shakespeare was alive, murder was apparently a solution to every problem. Most, if not all, of Silly Willy's works involve one character killing or attempting to kill another to have things go their way. Macbeth is no different, as Macbeth kills the king, the 2 guards watching him, Seward's child, an irrelevant character, and MacDonald at the start. However, that last one would count as they were done during the time of war and were mostly justified. He is also indirectly involved in Banquo and Macduff's entire family's death by commanding it to happen. Macbeth, as described by an injured boy at the start of the play, is a heroic soldier who stops at no end to protect his kingdom, and by extension, king. Unfortunately for old Duncan, Macbeth had stumbled upon the aforementioned witches, and this is where conflicting views could start to show up. The witches tell Macbeth,
"I'll hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis! All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor! All hail Macbeth, thou shalt be king hereafter!"
This intrigued Macbeth, but his buddy Banquo was not convinced, asking for a prophecy himself. They obliged, essentially telling him that his life would be lesser and sadder, womp womp, but his children would all be kings. Macbeth was a little peeved at this unforeseen roadblock in his plan. He writes a note to his wife, Lady Macbeth, who was a bit cuckoo, immediately putting her full trust in the witches and wanted to murder the king to become a queen. After some convincing, Macbeth goes out and kills the king in his own house, like an op. It is undeniable that the reason Macbeth decided to kill the king was due to the witch's prophecy. However, a question arises. Would he have still had malice against the king otherwise? Since the story pretty much starts with the prophecy, it is unknown Macbeth standing on the king before the run-in with the witches. It also should be noted that the witches never directly told Macbeth he would have to kill the king to become one. That idea was sparked in his mind on his own, as he first thinks of it even before speaking with his ill-minded mistress. This is where I would like to introduce a new concept, a catalyst villain. If you aren't blind or dyslexic, you probably saw the title card and thought, what is a catalyst villain? I've never heard of such a thing. And it's because I made it up. From what I've researched, such a character is not given a name, normally referred to as tricksters. However, if we assume for a moment that the witches aren't lying, something I'll harp on later, then they aren't really tricksters as much as they are manipulative. A catalyst villain uses the term catalyst, which if you've taken any science class, you would know they are a substance that speeds up a chemical reaction without changing itself. The character type itself refers to a villainous character that is sidelined, not really getting involved in much conflict. However, they manipulate and antagonize a character to either do their bidding or just see what happens. Think of Palpatine, in the original trilogy, of course, who, while eventually dipping his toes in conflict at the final fight, is mostly weak and just controls Darth Vader into fighting the Jedi by warping his perception of them with his rage induced by the fight with Obi-Wan, leaving him with a mild sunburn. The three witches themselves do nothing but continuously tell Macbeth mistruths and leave the meaning behind the prophecies mostly vague. For example, no prophecy said that Banquo was not to be trusted or that he had malice intent. However, through the sheer paranoia induced by the prophecy given to Banquo, Macbeth sent a murder squad to kill him. The witches also gave him false hope in the form of the no man born of woman until Berman Wood removed to Dunsinane prophecies, which seemingly protected his title and life despite them being only half-truths and misinformation. Because if you're a C-section, you were still born of a woman. The influence from these supernatural witches is called into question towards the end of the play. While the story wants you to believe that Macbeth is being forced down a predetermined path, there is one aspect of the story that Shakespeare seemingly forgot. Fleance. Fleance, the son of Banquo, was supposed to be king at the end. However, despite being a major cause for Macbeth's concern, had 2 scenes in 11 words of dialogue. And when the murderers are unable to off him, Macbeth doesn't even care after like 2 scenes. Even Shakespeare forgot about this character, omitting him from the finale where he should have been crowned. Instead, after a major yap chest from Macbeth, Macduff, the play just ends. While this could very well be chalked up to lazy writing, which I do think it is, it could also call into question the authenticity of the witches. While you could assume he got crowned, it is never shown, meaning from what we know, the witches lied about that prophecy, seemingly to get Macbeth to further spiral. This alone can show the influence they had, as Macbeth never once questioned if they were legit, and they had such a stranglehold on him that he listened to every prophecy. However, due to the apparitions they summoned, and the ghost of Banquo, it is implied that they were real witches, who most likely did have foresight. Regardless, Macbeth, while being an overall boring story, had some interesting concepts when it comes to manipulation and misinformation. The three witches are a perfect example of a catalyst villain whose sole purpose is to lead a character into a state of delirium. William Shakespeare even had another play with a more direct catalyst villain, Othello, who features Iago, who manipulates the main character Othello into thinking his wife is an unfaithful cheater using blatant lies, culminating in Othello killing her and himself once he realizes he was duped. Spoilers, by the way. So maybe Shakespeare isn't a bad writer. Maybe his stories are filled with rich storytelling and deep themes. Maybe his stories truly have memorable dialogue and undertoning messages. Maybe I was wrong about some random dead guy that lived God knows who long ago. But I don't care, because at the end of the day, all his stories are objectively snooze fest. And that's not a game theory, it's just fact. Thanks for watching.